Hey everyone, Andrew with Andrew's Air Cool Technology. Wanted to show you something I've been working on, which I'll finish no matter what because I'll use it for my own purposes, any future engine builds that I have. But might be a good product, so let me kind of talk you through it, and definitely would like your feedback whether or not you think this is something that you would be interested in purchasing, or you think other people would be interested in. So here's some set of thermostat flaps from the doghouse fan shroud, and bought these used. You can't buy these new. Nobody reproduces these or anything. So if you want to run a thermostat, you got to find these used. You can still find them out there, but a lot of people remove them from their engines. They end up getting tossed. So these are getting fewer and fewer by the moment in terms of being able to find these, but you can find them, and I think I found a company in the UK that actually restores them. There's a company here in the US that restores these. The company in the US that does the restoration doesn't necessarily do the greatest job of restoring them. They look good when you first look at them, except then when you look at them close, you're like, oh, they didn't really clean off all the rust and goo and anything else that gets built up on these things. So you end up having to do some extra work yourself to get them to be nice and redo the powder coat that's on them. But in any case, this is what you need, right? If you're gonna run thermostats. Why run the thermostat? A lot of people don't. And I say you can run one of these engines without it. There's been some testing that somebody's done. I think the testing was not accurate in terms of reproducing real cold weather driving, because when you're cold weather driving, your engine's not sitting still. It's actually got wind blowing on the sides of it. I've actually had a 64 Bug, my first car, with a little 1200 40 horse in Texas during the winter, and the thermostat stuff never opened. If it's cold enough outside, driving on the highway, at highway speeds for long periods of time, and the thermostat never even opened because it was cold enough. So your engine may not warm up properly at all under certain circumstances, depending where you live and what kind of weather you have without these, unless of course you do something like you have a high performance engine, you have external oil cooler maybe, which I use external oil coolers on all mine, and you have a thermostat in the oil lines. That actually helps a lot. It brings oil temperature up very rapidly, helps the engine warm up much better. So that's kind of an alternative, but these flaps are important for other reasons. One is they actually direct air along in conjunction with the fan shroud. So the air coming out on the cylinder head and cylinder side of these fan shrouds. This is an original OEM fan shroud from my 73 Beetle, and you see it actually has, these are the original that came with the car, not restored or anything. And the way that these flaps work, obviously when they're closed, you're not going to get much air right to through here, because this stuff you're basically closed off, so very little air. And as they open, right, they obviously let air through, but that's not their only purpose. The other purpose is to actually direct that airflow. These actually have different profiles on them, and pushing air more towards cylinder head and cylinder versus elsewhere. So they actually help the fan shroud in terms of directing the air. So they're somewhat important for cooling your engine properly at the cylinder head. So they have that purpose as well. If you go into aftermarket fan shrouds, obviously they don't have the holes for screwing these things. You can actually fit these in here no problem, but no holes. So you don't have an easy way anyway of mounting them in an aftermarket fan shroud like this. Maybe you don't want the heater ducts, etc. So you're basically stuck in a situation where you can't use the flaps, and then of course this fan shroud is not quite as effective as an OEM. So if you don't have an OEM fan shroud, or you have one of these, which are very, very common, actually I see most people's engines have these 36 horsepower, at least higher performance engines if there's not a stock rebuild, have these on them, right, and use them quite extensively. So I decided, just for my own purposes, I wanted to recreate these flaps. There's a 3D print of the flaps in the open position, and you can even you can probably see better with these because they're white, right? There's like curvatures here. There on this side, there's actually this that kind of blocks off some of the airflow permanently right here and kind of pushes it, and would actually change the velocity of the air as well. And on this side, there's also a slight curvature in here. So I created these. These actually fit perfectly. They're the exact dimensions, etc. So that's kind of what I started with. Then I'm like, well, how do I want to manufacture these? That's fine as just making sure I've got the model correct, generally speaking. So then I created these. So, and they might look nearly identical. They are identical in terms of the size and you know, the all the dimensions and the angles and everything. It's all the same, but what I did is I kind of made these separate pieces, tabs with tabs, and they can just pull out. So you got all those separate pieces there, and then you got just a shell here. So I can actually just make this out of sheet metal and do the appropriate bends. So this one would have 3 bends, 2 90-degree bends, and this is actually a 6.4 degree bend. And essentially assemble these things like this, tack weld them together, put the nuts on the back side, tack weld those, and you've got thermostat flaps kind of permanently in the open position. Now the reason I'm doing that is typically I actually run thermostats on some of my engines, but I also like the alternative, which is don't run the thermostat, because the old thermostats are hard to find. The bellows style, the Mexican styles are not fail-safe. So if they do fail, I'm not aware, I've never seen one fail, and I have one on my test engine over here. Never seen one fail, but if they do fail, you're going to fail in a position where the flaps are shut, which obviously if it fails, you're going to overheat your engine. So I don't really like that idea too much. So these are, here's the other one, same kind of deal. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that then kind of all just fit together nicely. You just push it together. I can then, you know, put welds in here, weld the nuts on, ready to go. And so just in the open position, because I know a lot of people also, they'll get the thermostat flaps, they won't run the thermostat, they'll just use it for the cooling, air directional cooling, and they'll essentially weld them open so they don't have to run all the other pieces. So don't know how common that is. I've heard quite a few people talk about it, but not really sure how many people really do it. So that's the reason, just to get some feedback from you guys. The other thing that I'm working on is some templates, so that you can actually like you can actually have something, and this I'll obviously use for myself as well, where you can actually just put it, you know, right on the fan shroud, just, you know, tape it there, whatever, and you have like the spots where the holes need to be drilled. So working on that. This one is actually patterned off of the original fan shroud, so it sticks out farther. I'm actually gonna re-profile that end so it meets up with this. The original fan shrouds are wider because of the heater outlets, right? So they're wider and then they curve in at the bottom. Hence why I have that curve there. That's kind of the bottom. So, you know, I'm going to reprofile that for these fan shrouds. So you'll have a template that you actually can use. These holes will be a little smaller, just to use a punch, so they'll be exactly centered, so you can actually center the holes. And of course I'll have 4 of those templates, 2 for the front, 2 for the back. Even though the holes are in the same spot, but there's some complications in terms of, you know, how you place it to make sure you get it straight across there. A long drill bit's not going to really help you much. You'll probably drill it crooked. So we'll have 4 of those. You know, been working on that, so these templates will come with it too if I make it a product. So that's kind of what I've been working on, and I think I'm getting close. I really just need the templates. Kind of know about how much it'll cost to make these. I've done some initial quotes, not complete yet, but the biggest, most expensive components, I know how much they'll cost to make. I think I can do it at a pretty reasonable cost, probably under $100 for a set of 2, and with the templates, so you can actually like mark the spots where you drill the holes, have them mount and be in the right place with all the right angles. and not have an issue with them being kind of wrong. So that's kind of the idea of what I'm working on. And if you guys will let me know what you think, if you think that would be something that a lot of people might want, then I might actually put it out as a product once I'm done, which probably only another 3 or 4 days of working on the templates to make sure I have the drill, the holes that you can drill, in the right spots for myself, and then for anybody that would obviously buy it. So that's what I'm thinking about, and just let me know what you guys think of that as a product idea. And if I get good feedback on it, then might proceed to production. We'll see. So thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye bye.